Okay, so I'm walking down this dark street, walking the dog, and it's got me thinking about this murder that I was involved with. I didn't kill anybody, don't worry. I was like 12 years old, and so let me flip the camera. So, when I was 12, so this would have been 95, 96, I lived in the Bay Area, and we had these family friends, like really close family friends, and their kids, like, and when I say we, I mean like my family, my aunt and uncle. I was living with them, and their kids, their son took a preaching job at a church in Alameda, California, and that church had a house in the back for the preacher to live in. And in getting it ready, horrible lighting, I swear. In getting it ready, his wife and 5-month-old daughter had gone to the house during the day to unlock it to let in the carpet cleaners, right? And that was that, okay? Well, that night, it's like 11 o'clock at night, she's not back. Nobody's seen her. Nobody's seen the baby, because they had a 5-month-old baby who actually shares a birthday with me, which is shocking. Nobody had seen him. So the husband, the one that was going to be preacher, he goes looking for them. Well, he goes back to the house that they were going to be living in once it was ready, behind the church building. Well, this is what's horrible. He goes in, nothing in the living room. Well, no, let me rephrase that. Let me back up. He gets there, he pulls up. Her car is there. And in the locked car is the 5-month-old baby crying, okay? And, he gets her out. I imagine she was probably soaked. I don't know if he changed a diaper or not. I have no idea. So then he goes in the house, and the living room is fine. Blah, blah. But then in one of the back bedrooms, he finds his wife dead, face down, on the ground. I cannot even imagine. So it turns out what had happened is the carpet cleaning company had sent their crew. She had gone in and locked it. Well, after they were gone, she had come back to lock up the house. Well, it turns out one of the carpet cleaners had come back to, now we're talking, psycho, like 50 times, plus, how do I say this in a way that's not going to get me kicked off? The worst thing that could happen to a woman, front and back, plus the psycho, movie shower scene stuff. Now, of course, he freaks out. She's gone. Calls 911. Of course, the police question him all night, Now, he's totally innocent. He had nothing to do with this. Turns out the carpet cleaning company hadn't done background checks on their employees. And one of them had a history, to say the least. And he had come back and he had lain in wait for her. Now, the way I'm involved, okay, obviously these were close family friends, but we also all went to church together. He hadn't started the preaching job at the Alameda church yet. And so, walking past a shadow, the news people were ruthless, and I mean ruthless. So here's our church, and they showed up at our church, and they had their cameras in everybody's faces, even the kids, they were trying to get us to say stuff. Now, me and a couple other kids, we were 12, 13, 14. Yeah, we had, helped out with the baby, obviously, when you're in a tight-knit community like that, of course, especially in a church, obviously all the teen girls are going to be around the babies. That's just how it is. And so that wasn't the worst, though. They literally, I think it was my uncle, could have been one of the other elders at church, was up at the front, at the podium, praying. And here comes one of the freaking press people sticking the microphone in his face while he's praying, trying to ask questions. So finally, like, several of the men, like, kind of locked arms or, yep, see, there goes another shadow, locked arms or whatever, and shoved all the press out. Now, obviously, they found the carpet cleaner. He was arrested. He was tried. He was charged with murder. He got the death penalty, but unfortunately, it's California. So I don't know if he's still alive, but he's darn sure not been executed. Oh my gosh, these shadows are horrible. So their beautiful 5-month-old daughter, excuse me, let me take the leash off my dog. Their beautiful 5-month-old daughter had to be raised without her mom. Now, her dad, God bless, a few years later, married an amazing woman who was a fantastic mom to the baby. And also, you know, they had a couple more kids. And then I'm trying to find a place where there's some light so you can see me. And I'm not getting much. Let's try, you know what, I'm going to walk across the dog park over here. But, so that's one part. Now, when this baby girl grew up, when she was like 22, let's see, 95 to 2005, maybe, I don't know exactly how old, in her 20s. Her dad, again, God bless him, he was on a business trip overseas, and he sadly had a medical emergency and passed too. So here she is in her like mid-20s, and she has one parent who she never got to know, who was brutally and I can't say those words because everybody I see gets kicked off for that. And then her father, who passed of natural causes. Now, this family was one of the strongest families I've ever known, okay? Everybody banded together, not just the church and everybody, but his family, her family, banded together from day one when this happened. And I think, now we were 12, 13, so obviously the adults tried to hide us from some of it as much as they could. But, you know, when you're at that age, you see things. And I know that there was a court case. There was a trial for the perpetrator. And then there was also like a civil suit against the company that advertised as doing like background checks, but they hadn't. And I think there was at least a couple million that came from that towards the family over what happened, which, praise God. And no, they didn't squander it on like fancy vacations. I mean, the man still worked and he supported his family. Okay, this was put aside for like college education, buying a home type stuff like that. But to this day, I will not allow a vendor in my house without somebody else there. Wait, I have had somebody in my house one time, but I made sure like the whole thing was set up. I'm going to call you when they get here, and I'm going to call you when they leave. And if I have not called you by X, Y, you know, whatever time, then you need to call the police because something's happened. Whether it's a carpet cleaner, a handyman, somebody there to do the smoke alarms, somebody there to just do like the, you know, the annual inspection at the townhouse, whatever. I can't have a vendor in the house with me alone. It freaks me out. Like, and I'm not trying to say the trauma that I felt is anywhere even in the same galaxy as what the family felt, but it's amazing how things that happen when you're young can affect you for your whole life. You know, I'm 42 years old. So this happened like 30 years ago. 31 years ago. You know, I don't have all the dates right. And yeah, so on the one hand, God rest her husband, God be with their daughter and also the other children, because, you know, that's something, even if it wasn't their mom that was murdered, it was their half-sister, their dad's late wife that was unalived. And And that's got to affect a family, you know, that's got to lead to conversations. So sorry about the bad lighting, but just walking in this darkness makes me think of that more times than you can think. Like, there's not a month that goes by that this doesn't pop into my head. So yeah, be safe. Have a plan for when strangers are in your home, no matter how vetted the company is. So yeah, and God bless everybody.